Welcome to Detroit's Darkest Times. And today's audio is going to be about 401k and my experience with 401k at a previous employment I had before I had retired. And this takes place, it begins out at a mom and pop company that I worked for. There was a union company, and they had the 401 there. So I had got involved with that, and everything was going well. We had Wells Fargo was over our 401k, and as time progressed, the company sold out to a corporation. And then as the corporation took over, we also had new management. And the new management tells us, and we never, only thing we ever knew really is just that whatever the managers were telling us is what we is going by, you know. But, were they being truthful? That just remains to be seen. But the managers had said that this new corporation, they don't deal with Wells Fargo, so they're going to have somebody else. So that means your 401 is going to be switched. And myself, I don't know how others felt, but I'm sure they all felt similar to the way I felt because, there was a lot of talk going on at this time about it because everybody was concerned. But what they had said is they're going to switch your 401, and then they said you got a certain date you have to have it switched by. And some people switched it right away, and then some people waited toward the last minute because they was just trying to see what was going to happen. And the main concern for people is losing some of their money in the 401, by doing this switch. And everybody was comfortable with Wells Fargo, which they did a great job. And then it was switching to something you didn't know nothing about, and you just didn't see the purpose in doing that. And it's just a red flag when something like that happens, that, there's got to be reasons behind it. But my experience was that that's switching over. I waited toward the deadline, because I really didn't want to switch. But anyways, they was taking employees in the office, and this is the new management that we had. And these guys ended up getting booted out of the company later on down the road. But anyways, these guys were saying, well, this corporation don't deal with Wells Fargo, so your 401 is going to be switched, but you're going to have to switch it. And they just kind of coach people what to do. And then the other red flag that I had was they was taking people, one at a time into uh, the office and getting them to switch. Some people went to. I would think this all would have to be done by HR. at least, or at least look legitimate or whatever. But the problem was, and the HR lady ended up leaving and retiring. And so, if anybody knows there was wrongdoing and stuff like that, as these managers were running this company, she would probably know. And everybody was surprised that she had left. You know, so, and a lot of people did leave, and then some people they just let go. The new managers just let them go because there was just a ton of people that was on salary pays, and it, you know, this part I understood. They had a ton of people on salary pay, and you just really didn't need that many people to do the task that was being done. You know. So when it was a mom and pop place, they did have a lot of employees, hourly and salary. And once these guys took over and this corporation bought the company, a lot of people lost their jobs. And which was a lot of salary people, then a lot of hourly people lost their jobs. But I'm going to get into how the hourly people lost their jobs. Because once we started seeing that the salary people were losing their jobs, then we knew it was going to spill over to the hourly people. But we asked in a meeting, would that happen? And they said no. And this is the new management. But later, as we got, because this was just new management, so we really didn't know much about them, but people were finding out a lot of stuff about these cats. And anyways, we had the company meeting. Everybody was concerned about their 401. Everybody was concerned if they was going to still have a job. Mainly the ones that was concerned was like the people who wasn't near, didn't have a lot of years in at the company. And they was thinking, they may lose their job. And so they told everybody they didn't have nothing to worry about. And then anyways, as time passed, a lot of people lost their jobs. Then later, there's people was, investigating these guys, finding out, what company they came from, what happened at the other company. They got to know people that used to work at the other company, and just trying to investigate and see what went down. And what had happened is these guys were working at this other company, and it was not run properly, losing a lot of money. So they ended up closing the doors at this company. So then they make their way over to the company that I'm talking about where we work at. And when they get over there, they're just working there as salary. Well, some was even came over there working hourly. And then some was doing salary, but they wasn't in management. And then as they were there, then the management got let go. And then the new guy that took over, this come from his own mouth. He said, because we asked what happened to the guy, because we worked with him for a lot of years. He was a good dude. And he said to a group of us, not the whole company, just a group of us that was around him asking about what happened to dude. And he said that $1 million or 2 million, I forget which one it was. I think it was 1 or 2 million. And he said that the dude couldn't account for that money it was missing. So they ended up letting him go. And that comes straight from him. And then, you know, we was like, dang, that's crazy, because that dude never had issues with uh, money before when it was the mom and pop place. And but anyways, he said that's the reason they let him go. So anyways, he took somehow he took over and got to be the manager. And then once he became the manager, then he started putting in place all the people that actually came from this other company that went under. And there was hourly people working, and he put them in position to be in management. You know. Then the next thing you know, the hourly people started getting being let go for just numerous things that me myself, I just believe it's all made up, basically. And the reason for that is just because they brought a lot of workers that used to work with them at the other company. They brought them in, and at the time we had basically a full staff, so there was nowhere to put them. So what they were doing is they was getting rid of these people and then giving their people the people's jobs, and that's what happened. From me watching what was going on, and others were saying that they've been checking the history out of these guys and what company they came from, and people knows people in the city, and some people knew a person that worked at the company, and that person told them all the dirt that was going on at that company, the reason it shut down and all that. So it was just red flags were just popping up everywhere. But anyways, as time went on, this basically is talking about my experience with a 401k at this company. And so, like I said, when it was a mom and pop, everything was going good. Nobody had no complaints. Everything's going good with the 401 and stuff. Well, then when they said we had to switch it over, they started having people go into the office, and then they were doing it, with the supervisors. They had the secretary do it with me, and just coaching you through it and stuff like that. And I just really thought all that was red flags, and I'll tell you why. Is as time progressed, which I was against it, but that's just what they said. The corporation, they just didn't deal with Wells Fargo, so this is something we had to do. And so I don't know about other people, but I know after they took over and things like that, and they were just trying to basically get things out of the company where you'd end up making lesser money. And what I mean by that is they voted out. They had some of their old employees that came from the other company working there at the company, and then what they did, they had a vote on trying to get the double time out because this was a union shop, and they had a vote to get the double time out, and then everybody voted, and they had their people count the votes, and then the union counted the votes second. But anyways, at this point, they was off to the side when they counted the votes, and then they said, that it passed that, the double time is going to be out the company. Now, who in their right mind would vote out double time out the company? Would you rather get paid double time on Sunday or time and a half on Sunday? Just think about that for a minute. Let that sink in for a minute. anyways, then they said, the vote passed. Then they gave the votes to the union, and then let somebody else count the votes. But I just thought all that was, red flags, and just this whole thing was just, to me, was just all set up, and it was just bad luck from the time them people took over. And but anyways, and then over time, myself, and I asked a few others, they lost money too. But see, everybody made different uh, hourly wages, so different people lost different amounts of money. Myself, I lost $10,000 per year. You know how you get your W-2s at the end of the year, and it just dropped $10,000. Then on the 401k, this is what I'm getting to on this. The 401k, when they had everybody switch their stuff, and just like I said, when they had people going into the office and having the supervisors help them switch over, and the secretary actually helped me switch over, and I just really thought all this was just a red flag when it's got to do with your 401. But anyways, I basically knew it was a shit show from Jump Street. As soon as these guys was able to, get in management, and then seeing how they were just taking them off the hourly pay and putting them on salary and making them, supervisors and all this other shit. But anyways, all this went down. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people, good people that lost their jobs, that knew their job really well. And then there was all kind of chaos going on where, things were just happening that wouldn't normally happen, causing people to, have big mistakes and all this stuff, stuff like that. So it was all just basically planned, if you ask me. But anyways, get the 401 switched over, and then one year, I'm putting in quite a bit per year, and then the company, well, I'm actually putting in 4%, and then the company's matching. Uh, but anyways, I do this for a whole year, and I'm in the 401 for many years, but I'm just saying this particular year. And then this whole year passes, and then I check, I checked it like I checked it once a year is what I did. And I checked it, and when I checked mine, I noticed that for the whole year, nothing changed on my 401. It was just like I wasn't putting nothing in for the whole entire year. And like the company didn't put nothing in for the whole entire year. So then I was a little upset, so I went to the HR. And mind you, I wanted to say this so people could know the platform of what's going on. See, just in case this happens to y'all at a company y'all work at. But anyways, once the managers took over and the corporation bought the company, then, like I told you, they started putting people in place and hiring people, for uh, different positions, like the HR and the supervisors and uh, all this kind of stuff. So they had all their people actually running the company, and so it was basically just a big shit show, to be honest with you. And nobody really liked it, but there was a lot of people that just, a lot of people talked about it and complained about it and stuff like that. But some people were just saying, well, I mean, you know, they didn't think they could do anything about it. And I'm just voicing my opinion on it because it was my experience that I had went through at this company with these new managers. They got booted out the company later themselves. But anyway, there was just a lot of, you know, in my eyes, it was a lot of wrongdoing, a lot of getting rid of, good workers to replace them with workers that they wanted in there instead that came from the company they used to work at. And you know, and right now, today, even though I'm retired, I'm sure that company has went down tremendously, you know. But it, just the experience on all the stuff that was going on over there, and then the 401, and then I went to the HR, and then now, mind you, when you call the HR, you remember me saying that they switched our 401 to another outfit, and then they also switched our payroll with another company. So there's another company doing our payroll, another company over our 401k, and all this. So all this was just all, to me, in my eyes, was all fixed, you know, and it really just, I'm sure, I lost a lot of money, but I'm sure a lot of people lost a lot of money. And I just really think that it was a shit show and a lot of stuff was going wrong at that company. Even though them cats are no longer at the company, now a lot of their people are still at that company where they have put them in place and stuff like that. But, you know, and then they went to another company. They're probably doing the same thing at another company too. And so who knows? But these guys were a shit show to me. And I could see right through them what they were doing and stuff and things like that. And the reason I seen that, and I think they seen that I seen that because I wasn't really like holding my tongue. I would say what was on my mind. And I remember before these guys came to the company, I used to get evaluations from my supervisor. And my supervisor used to always give me a perfect evaluation. And then he would put on my evaluation, doesn't need any supervision. Even though you had supervisors, he would put on there, it doesn't need no supervision, if any, and things like that. Just a real good report that I got every year. And then when these guys came, uh, and took over, then they started, because see, they had control of, like, they could go over to the press room and tell these guys to print this, do this, whatever, and so they could guide people into doing jobs, whether it be a small job or whatever, and then when it went over to the other building where it had to get processed as far as whatever it needed to be done, then you had a lot of employees making a lot of mistakes and all that, but it wasn't them per se. It was just the way that they were setting up jobs, causing people to have a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. Is what what we ended up finding out and experience after people were catching on to what was going on. And this is how they was able to get rid of people and then bring their people in and all that. And you know you could basically just see now that their people, even though they're out of the company, their people is in good positions at the company, like salary positions, high up paid positions on the hourly and stuff like that. And you can just know that, and the people before them's been there for many, many years, and they never got that opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So it was just a whole big ass shit show to uh, do their people good, and the people that was there prior before they got there, they just got rid of a lot of people, made a lot of people look bad as employees, and it was just a big shit show to be honest with you. But karma comes back to people like that, so they'll deal with that in their own time. But the incident that when I went to the HR about the 401, and I was like, hey, I'm missing a whole year of money that I put in, and money that the companies put in, and it's just missing. And then she said, well, the HR lady, and this is everybody's under this management now, you know what I mean? The payroll, the F401, everybody's just under this situation, under this umbrella. So she said, well, hang on, let me call 401. So she calls them and then puts it on the loudspeaker. And then I just told them I had a question about the 401. Well, it's been a whole year. I put money in and stuff like that. And it's not showing up in my 401. And then all this lady said, she was like, well, have you been keeping up with the 401? Because it hasn't been doing well and stuff like that. The stocks and stuff like that hasn't been doing well. And just shit like that they tell you just so they got an excuse for why the money's not there. You know what I mean? But really, just my experience in the 401, that's never happened before. You know what I mean? And it just so happened when these management was taking over. It's just a lot of shit that people were catching that these cats were doing. And, you know, and, it was just a big shit show. And I'm not really I just really wanted to touch on this experience that I had with the 401k at this previous company that I worked at, even though I'm retired now. And it was just a big shit show. And them guys really don't need to be in no kind of management at no company, to be honest with you. From the things that I've seen them do and take place at the previous company that I worked at. These cats don't need, they just, it's different for, just getting a new boss and stuff like that. And then maybe some people disagrees with a new boss. That's a whole different ball game. But these cats here was just a shit show. You know what I mean? And just all kind of shit happened at the company while these guys were there, And then they used to report. I don't know who they reported to far as safety, because this corporation had a lot of companies, but they would report that there was no accidents, nobody got hurt, nothing like that, and just making it look like they was just running the company real efficient, real good and stuff. And there was all kinds of shit happening. You know what I mean? People were getting hurt and stuff like that, and they just wasn't reporting it. And so it was just things like that, and they was just doing a whole bunch of stuff to make them look good and make the employees look bad, and ways to get rid of employees where they could bring their employees in and put them in position. And it was just a real big shit show. And some people got fed up and just left. Then a lot of people got terminated, for different scenarios. They would, say that the reason they let them go and stuff like that. And I just felt bad for a lot of people because I knew there was a lot of good workers that I had met over the years and worked many years with the people. So I knew they were good workers, and I knew they come to work all the time and everything, and they did good jobs. And some, we all had, minor mistakes and stuff like that, which occurs at every company. But just when these guys came and took over, it was massive things happening and stuff. And I really just believe it is just all, uh, set up kind of deal where all this would take place where, they could get some people out because there was no room for their people, is what the deal was. And then there was a couple of jobs that they just invented where they would be able to put uh, a few of their guys in the company. You know, they would like just create a position that we didn't never even had before. So that just kind of show you, what was going on. And then they got rid of, supervisors and stuff like that. It was just a shit show, a big mess, and you know. But I believe what had happened though eventually that you know all their shit caught up with them, and like I said, they still got a lot of people at that company which they had put in place under their umbrella, but they got booted out, and now they're at another company, and they're probably doing the same shit at another company. But I just wanted to touch on that 401 experience that I had at that company. And, there's no proof that, not unless somebody that knows about 401 could really check into it. But you just ain't, a regular worker just really don't have no. All he could do is just say his experience and what happened and what he saw and stuff like that, basically. And that's basically what we're saying here. But and this could happen at any company, But I was just wanted to share my experience with these new managements and stuff like that at the company I worked at before I retired. And it was just a big shit show. And the guy was just a big bullshitter. He, stayed intoxicated all the time and shit like that. I'm surprised he even had that position, to be honest with you. But it was just a big shit show, and then you know, this guy just did a whole lot of shit. I mean, he was, you know, there was one story that I heard there that he had got involved with another lady, and he was a married dude. Got involved with her, was at the bar with her. His wife walks in and catches him at the bar with another lady. And she takes off out. He takes off after her. Then they end up getting a divorce. And then the corporation finds out about it, and then gives him a alternative where he can it's either he's got to leave or that girl has to leave because they can't be working together and seeing each other, at the company. So I believe that if the corporation would know what all the shit was going on, uh, them guys would have been gone a long time ago. But I believe they just got wind of some of the shit they were doing and just got rid of them. But to hear them tell it, they just decided they was going to leave and they got a better position at another company. That's their story. So, anyways, a lot of people knew that these people were just a straight up shit show and bullshitters, and done a lot of people messed a lot of people's livelihoods up over the years, and shit like that, and that's why I really think it's real important And also, this manager used to say, like when they would lose somebody, as far as like somebody left or whatever the case might be, and they had to fill a position, he used to always tell the workers, y'all don't want the corporate to hire somebody and bring them in, you know. So basically, what he was saying that he needed to hire the people, and this was just his people, and he would make so he could just basically have everybody under his umbrella where things wouldn't get out to the corporation basically. But I do believe there's a lot of employees at the company that will found a way to report to the corporate people, and how all companies have a 1-800 number, but some of the employees were saying their 1-800 number wasn't going to the right people; it was just going to their inner circle. So the word really wasn't getting out on what was going on until some people found out how to get the word out and stuff like that. And it's just a big shit show. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of supervisors had to take early retirement because it was either that or get let go anyways. You know what I mean? So it was just a big ass shit show over there. And but like I said, karma is gonna come back to them guys for messing up all these people's livelihoods and stuff like that. I was just thankful that I'm retired, and but I went through a lot of shit with these people, and and I just knew that there was just red flags popping up everywhere with these guys, and you know. So that being said, I feel for the employees that's left behind that's still working, because you can go and check it out for yourself. You go over there, you'll see that the people that this last management hired, look at all the people that he hired and look what kind of position they're in, and then look at the workers that's been there for many, many years and look what kind of position they're in. And then that'll tell you the story. But anyways, I do feel like I got cheated out of a year's money of my 401, and you know, but I just wanted to touch on that because I just want people to know that that kind of shit happens at different companies and corporations and stuff like that. So just always keep your eyes on and pay attention to your 401 retirement, and if you see something skettish like I did, where you just lose a whole complete year of money, and that ain't gonna have nothing to do with the stocks being back down or up, far as just losing exactly one whole year of money and exactly one whole year of the company paying their part. You know what I mean? So that was just, and just think if that happened to me, it probably happened to every employee that had a 401k. And they probably told every employee the same story, that, the stocks were down and all that, so. But I just feel like that under that management, there was just a lot of, you know, dirty deeds going on, and a lot of stuff I've seen, with my own eyes and stuff like that. It was just a shit show, really. So that being said, this 401 audio is just keep your eyes on your 401. If you happen to get new managers, and if somebody buys y'all's company or whatever while you're working, just really pay attention to what's going on. Because from my experience, uh, it was a big shit show, and so that being said, we appreciate everybody listening. I just wanted to share my experience with the 401 at previous company I worked at before I retired. And just pay attention to your retirement plans and what goes on at your company and stuff like that. And, you know, just keep your eyes open, ears open, and you know, because things like that could happen, you know. And like I said, they're probably doing the same thing at the company they're running right now, as far as I'm concerned. But that being said, we appreciate everybody listening. Uh, we'd like you to subscribe, hit the like and the notification bell, grow with this channel, and support this channel. If you'd like to support the channel, the cash out is $ FC313. The PayPal is DDT313. So if you'd like to support, do so, and grow with this channel. And remember to have people subscribe, tell your friend to tell a friend, and share these autos, and just pay attention what's going on, especially if you're in the 401, and pay attention to your company and your other co-workers. Look out for each other. Be safe. This is Detroit's Darkest Times. We're out.